Hello everyone. Welcome to Zoho Flow webinar. In this session, we are going to see how you can work with decisions and delays. These are two important workflow logic elements in Zoho Flow. Now, before I begin, I'll just cross-check everybody is hearing it fine. All right, audio check fine. Okay, I'm super excited. I'm seeing so many attendees here in my session here. Okay, so I'm Rahul Kumar. I'm a product marketer at Flow. I'll be taking you through this webinar. And if you have any questions, I can take those questions at the end of this session. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is the agenda for the day. We'll begin with a quick overview of integration as a concept, move on to understanding the importance of workflow logic elements in these integrations, then various logic elements Zoho Flow has and how they can help you build detailed workflows. After that, we'll go into the product and see different ways of using decision and delays in Zoho Flow. And of course, at the end of the session, if you have any questions, I'll take those. So an app integration, as you know, it's the process by which different applications can talk to each other, exchange information without you manually doing anything. For example, if we have a form that collects leads and we want the entries of this form to move to Zoho CRM. Now, this can be done by creating an integration between Zoho Forms and Zoho CRM. This is a simple integration to exchange data between two apps. Now, if we need better control over how exactly these apps exchange information, that's when we bring logic elements. So logic elements are basically custom rules that you can include in integration workflows. Once you include these elements, then the movement of information becomes smarter. For example, in the same example, wherein the forms to CRM workflow, if we include a condition that says add leads only for those registrants that have agreed to specific terms and conditions while submitting the form, then that gives us a filtered list of leads that we can directly contact. Next, these elements can help us personalize or tailor workflows according to our business. For example, if we need to categorize the leads that are coming in based on the events that they have chosen in the form, we can do that by adding multiple paths to our workflow. And these paths will execute different kinds of actions depending on the registrant's choices. Also, they can help you adapt workflows based on your dynamic needs in the business. For example, we can set up a workflow to convert a lead to a contact only if the deal value is greater than a certain amount, an amount that you might have decided based on revenue or other parameters of your business. So now that we have discussed the importance of workflow logic elements, let's move to those elements that Flow offers and how you can use them to build more comprehensive workflows. So we've got decisions that help you include multiple paths in your workflow. We have delay to add waiting times between tasks. Custom function basically helps you write deluge scripts to format different data types. Set variable helps you store temporary results that the flow computes and can be passed on to the next steps. And the send mail basically allows you to send emails from any custom domain. Now, before I jump into the product, let's see how it works. So Zoho Flow works on this idea of triggers and actions. So triggers are basically the starting point, the events that cause the workflow to start, and actions are various tasks that follow automatically. And in between, you bring in different rules and conditions, which is what I'm going to talk about. So here is an example where you get some submission happening in a Calendly form that leads to automatic creation of a lead in CRM. Now there you can bring in conditions, whether it fits a criteria, and move on to a different module based on that criteria being fulfilled. So in this session, we'll be talking about just decision and delays. So let's go into Zoho Flow to see different ways in which these two elements can be used. And before I start working on a workflow, let's talk about these. Before we talk about this, let's understand what we are going to build, what we are going to automate in this webinar. So here's the use case. Imagine you run a health center and you're planning a free health check camp in your city. You would have promoted this event online and are expecting different registrations from different sources. So we'll see that we'll see how to automate that registration and the communication associated with that registration process. Um, Assume you collect those leads through Zoho Forms that is sitting on your website or somewhere else, and you want to move their details on submission to CRM, and after that you want to send them a welcome email through Zoho Mail. So our idea is to connect Zoho Forms with Zoho CRM and then to Zoho Mail. So let's just create that simple workflow. To do that, you click on this plus button, give it a name. So we'll call it Health Camp. And because we are talking about a few workflows that will come together to automate this process, we'll call it Health Camp 1. You can give a description, which is optional. So we'll just go ahead and click create, skipping the description. Now, after giving the name, you will see three options. These are basically different trigger types. The first one is app-based trigger. Means if you want your workflow to run based on something happening in an app, for example, a new email coming, new submission happening in form, or new lead getting created in CRM, and things like those. So if you want that kind of workflow to be created, you need to choose app-based trigger. Second is schedule-based trigger. For example, you want your workflow to run at a given time. Then you can use this schedule-based trigger. For example, I want to receive an email at 9 a.m. every day morning. Then I can use this schedule-based trigger. And the third is webhook-based trigger, which allows you to access data from the apps that are not yet part of Zoho Flow, but they support webhook triggers. So in that case, you can use webhook trigger. We have talked about it in other webinars. I'll be sending you links about those webinars when I'm sending this webinar to you. I'm seeing some question pop-ups. I'll be taking those questions at the end of this session. So we're going to go with this app-based trigger. Click configure, and it will start showing you next steps, wherein if you have chosen the app-based trigger, it will show you all the apps from which you can configure the trigger. Now, based on our use case, we want to take forms as a trigger. So we'll go ahead and search for forms. So here is Zoho Form. Click on the app and go next. Now, this is the trigger that Zoho Forms supports. Means when there is a new form entry happening, then the automation will start. So let's just click on this new form entry. Now this is real-time trigger, which is also called webhook trigger. Means if there is a submission happening, the data will be sent to Zoho Flow instantly. Some of the apps support polling, which basically takes 5 to 15 minutes based on your subscription plan. Now, let's go ahead and click next. And now here we either create a new connection or take the existing connection. So we have talked about connection in our Getting Started webinar, which is available online on our website. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and pick one connection. So take this forms connection. And once you have chosen the connection, it will start pulling all the details from this account. So here you have different forms from which you can choose one. So I'll go ahead with this health camp form and click done. So you have now configured the trigger of this workflow. Now the next step is to create a lead in CRM. You can do that by looking out at these apps, among these apps. So these are basically action apps under which you see different tasks that you can automate. So our idea is to go ahead to CRM. Let's search for CRM, and among these CRM apps, let's go to Zoho CRM and create module entry. So let's just create module entry, drag and drop it here. And similar to the previous step, just choose the connection, choose the module. So it's going to be leads module. The layout, let's take standard, and it will start pulling all the fields that are there in the leads module of CRM account. So here you see on the right side, you have different variables. These data you can map to the respective fields in the current configuration window. So here when I'm creating the lead creation automation process, here I can just map the first name. So click on the field and then click on the variable on the right. So these are the variables coming from the previous step, which is the new form entry. So click first name, the last name, it's mandatory field. You can have full name by clicking both first name space last name. Then go to email, click on the email field here, the phone number, which is here. And similarly, if you're collecting more fields, more details about a particular lead, then you can map those in respective fields in CRM. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip these fields and gonna click done. So we have added one step. The third step would be to send an email when the lead is created in CRM. So here we'll go ahead and search for Zoho Mail, and in the drop down you have send emails. So just drag and drop it here, and it will ask you to give the to address. So this to, we can give this email that is submitting the form, because this mail will be sent automatically to this registrant. Now you can create the subject. So let's say we can call it Zilker Health Camp 2019 registration details. Registration details. And so we have to draft an email that will go. I already have created one. I'm just going to go and copy this email and paste it in my email body here. And you see this tag. So if you delete and map it with the first name. So this is how you merge different tags when you create mails. And also hello name will be taken from this form submission, and then this mail will be sent to this registrant. So that's about the mail body. Click done, and we have created a simple flow. So far we have not put any rule, any conditions. So this is a simple flow wherein when a new submission happens in my form, then it will automatically create a lead in my CRM account and then send an email to the registrant automatically, thanking them and then giving them details of the registration. So that's a simple flow. Now we're going to understand how logic elements can help us bring in different rules and fine-tune our business processes and help us in branching and taking different routes based on our business criteria. So let's assume, what if this registrant is already existing as a lead in CRM? This flow anyways will create the lead in CRM, and that might be duplicate. So what we need to do to avoid this is we need to use a decision in our workflow, and decision would be whether the lead exists in CRM or not. Now to do that, let's just edit the same workflow. So let's go ahead and cut this wire, and what we'll do first is we're gonna go ahead and in CRM we're gonna fetch the lead. So here you have the task which basically allows you to fetch lead. You can either use fetch lead or fetch module entry. So let's just use fetch module entry and drop it here. Choose the connection and the module, which is leads. Choose the layout, standard, and then it will ask you how you want to fetch this. So I'm going to fetch this lead using the email ID. So this email ID will be coming from the form submission, which is here on the right side. So click on the email field in the CRM and then click on the email field from the variable on the right. So basically we are looking at the email that has come in, and we'll be seeing in CRM whether this lead exists or not. So click done. Now the workflow is fetching the lead from CRM using the email ID that has come in, but we are yet to decide what to do next. So this is where we are going to use decision elements. So decision element sits here under logic section. If you see left, top left, here is the logic section. Click on this and you'll see different logic elements. So we have flow control, which is set variable, decision, and delay, which I have talked about in the slides. Right now I'm going to focus on just decision and delay. So the next step would be to drag and drop this decision element here, and it allows you to pick any of the data points from previous steps and make a decision based on that. So our idea is to find out whether this lead exists in CRM or not. Now, to identify that, we'll be using the email ID of the lead, which is coming in through this form submission. So this is the first step, which is the trigger. Now take this email ID from the form submission and find out, so you can have these kinds of conditions, decisions to be made. So I'm deciding whether this email equals or not. So my condition is it does not equal. So this email does not equal the email that is coming from CRM. So first email we have taken from the form, and second email we are taking from the CRM. So here you have the email ID. Let me just check where the email is. Here it is. So map the email ID. Now we are checking whether this email that has been submitted in the form is not equal to the email that is there in CRM. That means it's not there in CRM. There is no lead. So that's how we have used this condition. Now, in this condition box, the right side branching is conditional branching, means if the condition is fulfilled, then branch the workflow this way. If it is not fulfilled, then take the default route. So we have decided that if it is not equal to the email ID in CRM, that means it's not there. So create the module entry, means create the lead. So we are just connecting the conditional branching to create lead step that was there in the beginning. Now, if it was already there, means if it was equal to the email ID, means it was there. So all we can do is we can just go to the apps section, go to CRM, and as a default step, we can just update module entry. So just drag and drop this here and take the connection and map various fields. So something that is not yet there in your leads module regarding this particular lead, you can update that by mapping these. So the entry ID would be from the CRM. So you have the entry ID here. Just map this because we are taking this lead ID to update it. So lead ID allows you to see, okay, this is the lead where I need to make these updates. So you can just take the first name, the last name, and similarly you can create the full name, first name space last name, all of the details you can have. So email is already there, but you can still map. The phone number we can take. Here it is. And similarly, you have all these different fields you can map from the previous step when you are trying to update the lead that is there. So click done. And then here, the conditional branching is basically allowing me to create the lead in CRM based on whether it's there or not. If it's there, I'm making an update to the lead, and I'm still sending this email that was supposed to go. So you connect this branch here. Now this flow is ready. So what we have done is, with the help of decision, we have checked in CRM whether the lead exists or not, and then after that we have sent the email to the lead. So this is what decision does. It helps you make make decisions based on business criteria that you might have, and then branch it to automate processes, fine-tune processes basically. So that's about using decision in a simple manner. What we'll do is we'll just switch it on and test it. So here is the form that we have connected. Let's just give it a value. Frank Wilson, frank at zilker.com. Give it a phone number, the age, height, weight, and let's choose one criteria here and submit. Now after submission, we can either go here and check history. So it will show you that the execution has happened and all the steps have been fulfilled. Alternatively, you can go to CRM, the leads module. I'm already in leads module. Let's just refresh it and you'll see the lead has been created. So this is the lead that has been created. We don't have company name because we did not map. We have other details. Now we'll go ahead and understand with the pre-built examples. Basically, I have extended the same flow by adding more steps which are open in new tabs. So this is how Zoho Flow works. You have conditions to be fulfilled with the help of decision. Now we're going to close it. Now we'll just go to the builder. And in next tab, you'll see how we have incorporated. So this is the same flow. You'll see these steps are the same steps. All we have done is we have again added decisions, and this is more comprehensive way of using decisions. So here what we have done is we have clubbed the decision with various criteria coming together. So in the previous step, these two lead to mail being sent. What we have done is before sending email, we have decided that if certain criteria is fulfilled while form is being submitted, then send different kind of mail. So here you see in the first condition, branch is recommendation of a test. So they are perhaps submitting a request for one test, but your business criteria concludes that this particular registrant might need another test too. So you can do that by clubbing decisions. So if you open this, you'll see that we have clubbed various decisions. So the first one is they have blood glucose equals false, means while submitting the form, the blood glucose field was not ticked, which is the first criteria. Alongside that, you can always go ahead and click plus here and add more conditions. So here you see I have taken the next criteria as the age. Now this age has come in from the trigger. Now if age is greater than equal to certain amount, plus if the weight of the registrant is greater than a certain amount, then based on these clubbed conditions, I want to send a particular type of email. So you see after this was configured, I have sent this recommendation to go for blood glucose test because they did not tick the blood glucose option that was there in the form. So this first step, first condition. So that's one branching. Similarly, you can have another clubbing. So if you go into the second condition, so this group has uh, the blood glucose level to be higher. This has come in from CRM, and lipid abnormalities. All these fields are there in CRM, which I'm checking from using the conditions. So blood glucose being above certain thing, lipid abnormality being there, and also they have not gone to tick the lipid test in form submission. So you see, similar to the previous condition, we have clubbed a few and then branched the workflow differently. So we send a recommendation for lipid test. Here it's glucose test, here it's lipid test, and none of the conditions, if are fulfilled, then we just send the email, which anyways we were sending. So you see how you can use decision in different ways. So that's all about decisions. Now, the second topic is delay. So delay, as I mentioned in the beginning, it allows you to pause your workflow until a certain time or for a given time frame. So this is the last example wherein I'll show you how Zoho Flow's delay element has been used differently. So go to the third tab and same workflow where the trigger is new form entry. What we are doing here is we are going to logic elements, and we have dragged and dropped this delay element, which you see on the left here, this element. We have dragged and dropped it here, and something like this opens. So this window allows you to delay the execution of this flow for sometimes say hours or a few days, a few weeks, or delay it until a given time, which you can select from the calendar that is there. So in the first criteria, what we are doing here is when the form submission happens, then I'm pausing it till the event date, till the health checkup camp date. Now this flow will stay paused till this date, and then send this email to them reminding about the health camp that is scheduled for the day. Now that was the first way of using it, which is until a given date. The second way of using the delay is delay it for a time frame. So anyways, after this mail is sent for the confirmation, we waited for 12 hours. So in the previous step, it was delay until, here it's delayed for. So we're delaying this workflow for 12 hours. We could choose to make it a week or something. So we waited for the whole day, and then we are sending another email thanking them for attending the event uh, for the camp. And then we're also sending a survey link. You can send other details that you might want based on your business criteria. So this is what delay does for your workflows. So that was all about decisions and delays from my end. Now I think I'm done with this, and everything else you already know. Here is the gallery where you can check all different pre-built workflows that are there, which you can use. You have help documentation here in the question mark. You can read through, send an email to us for any feedback that you might have. Left side, you have the master dashboard to see everything that happens in the workflow. So here you can see all the execution details. In settings, you have history of your entire execution, all the workflows coming together. All the logs will be here. You have connections, so different connections will be listed. You can reconnect them, you can share them so that other people in your org can use this connection to create workflows. And those are these people. These are members whom you can have give different roles. And then you have this last part, support access. So when working with Zoho Flow, if you need any help, you feel like our team should look at your workflows, then you can tick this allow support access, and our team will be there to help you out. So that's about Zoho Flow's decision and delays, and of course, certain other elements that I talked about. Now, just to summarize, we looked at how you can use decision delays picking static values. So in the first case, we had just taken a certain amount, say age as 65 or 45. We have taken weight. In the other step, we saw how we have mapped values from CRM to check the criteria whether they have sugar level or something that they have. And then we also showed you how you can club different conditions like age, weight, and medical history, and then make decision or branch your workflow based on those. Of course, you saw multiple conditions coming together. And then in delay, you saw how you can pause the flow until a certain time or for a time frame. So that's all about Zoho Flow's logic elements. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye. Take care.